Hi there everyone, welcome back to Dandelion Delphi Tutorials. Today we're going to look at the final of 2015 question 1. This would be a paper that both grade 11s and 12s can do as it contains some arrays. Before you continue to watch this lesson, go download this paper from education.gov.za so you can practice while you are watching this lesson. This is question 1, and what we need to do here is we need to apply this formula here, and then we have to display underweight, normal weight, or overweight. And as you can see, there's a table here, and when there is a table, it's a clear indication of either using a nested if statement or a case statement, depending on what you're going to test. Now, my BMI is going to be real because I have the divide. So therefore, I will not be able to use a case statement because case statements can only use ordinal values, that is, integers and chars. So if I see a table like this and the value that I'm testing is real, I'm going to use a nested if, and I want you to try a nested if. Read this part of the paper, press pause, and I'll show you the rest of the question just now. Here you can see the screenshots of the input and the output of one example, and I'll show you the other one just now. And here you can see both examples of input and output. Press pause, I'll show you the memo just now. Usually when we do the input, we always want to match the data type with the screenshots, but if you would read question 1.2, you're going to see that from this current weight, we are going to deduct a real variable. So we will have to make this a real variable, even though the screenshot here is an integer. I have also declared this weight here as a global variable since I'm using it in question 1.2. I started here with a dot clear because I could see from the two screenshots that both of them were at the top of the rich edit, so therefore there was a dot clear. And then I get the input from the user. The height was indicated as a real value. And then the weight, as I explained, I have declared as real, but also as a global variable, not as a local variable. And then I'm going to apply that formula, taking the weight and dividing it by the square of the height. Then I'm going to display my heading because they wanted you to show the heading and the value of the BMI that you calculated. Note that it showed 5 decimal places, so you have to use f fixed and 5 with your floater string f. And don't forget your labels. Now when I look at a table like that, I always start at the top. So when you have a table like this, either start at the top or the bottom. I have both examples for you. I've started here at the top, and then you'll move your way down in the table. So the first one says less than 18.5. Make sure that you don't add an equal sign there. And then the person is underweight. Now you'll see I have made a mistake here by misspelling underweight. I did this deliberately to show you that this would not be important to fix in an exam. We will still give you the mark because it does say underweight even though you have misspelled it. It's just important that you have the labeling. But if you have small errors in the spelling, don't worry about fixing them. So this is my nested if, the top option. Now my second option here is only testing if the BMI is less or equal to 25. You can see that 25 is included, so the 25 here is important. Then the person is of normal weight. Now I can add to this condition and BMI is greater or equal to 18.5, but it is really not needed. Let's say the BMI was 20. If the BMI here is not less than 18.5, that means it's more than 18.5, this line here will be executed. So the only time that this line executes is when the BMI is 18.5 or higher. If the BMI was 15, that means it's less than the 18.5. This line will be executed and all of this will be ignored. So for that reason, that second condition isn't necessary. You can add it, just be careful not to make a mistake in it and then losing that mark. Now, usually in this table, our last option actually don't need an if statement. We can just put it in the else, because if my BMI is not less than 18.5 or less than 25, or equal to 25, my only option is that it's greater than 25, and then this line here would run. So if I have a BMI of 30, it's not less than 18.5, it's not less or equal to 25, so therefore overweight would be displayed. Again, it's not incorrect to add your if statement here. Just make sure that you don't make a mistake to lose that mark for adding something extra and getting it wrong. So it is also possible to start at the bottom of your table. So I could say if the BMI is greater than 25, you're overweight. Else, if the BMI, now I'm using the lower range here, if the BMI is greater or equal to 18.5, normal weight. Else, my only option that is left is underweight, and that's my top option there. Question 1.2 is now making use of the weight that the person entered in question 1.1. And they also enter a goal weight of what they want to reach. So we are going to have to loop and continue to deduct 375 grams from their weight until they have reached their goal, or if they are under their goal. You also have to add validation here to test if the goal weight is in fact less than the current weight of the person. Press pause, I'll show you an example of output just now. So here is an example of the person having their current weight is 90 and they want to reach their goal of 85, and we are going to deduct every day 375 grams from their weight until they have reached their goal weight. So you will see that the last option here, number 14, is less than the 85. It could also be equal to. So since we don't know how many times we need to loop to reach that goal, we are either going to use a repeat or a while loop for this question. And here they are showing you what should be displayed if an invalid entry is entered. Press pause, try it yourself so I can show you the memo. So my first example here is using a while loop. I will also show you the repeat loop. And this is just my validation to test that the goal that they've entered is less than the weight. So the weight was entered in question 1.1 and I'm making use of that. And now I'm starting with the number of days it's going to take, and I'm initializing it because I have to count the number of days on the inside of this while loop. Remember, when we're using a while loop, the variable that we are testing, we need to make sure that it's initialized, and in this case it was initialized from user input in question 1.1, and then that same variable needs to be tested, and then I make sure that that variable is changing on the inside of my while loop, else I will fall into an infinite loop. So here I'm just counting my days and I'm deducting from the weight the 375 grams. And I need to display the number of days and then the current weight for that day. And I will continue to loop while the goal is less than the weight. So the moment that the goal is equal to the weight, or if the goal is more than the weight, my loop will stop executing. And this bottom part here is just to indicate that the person entered an invalid entry. Here is an alternative solution using a repeat loop, and I've also moved the if statement to the top because this would also be a possibility. To test if the goal weight is greater or equal to the weight, I will display a message and I will exit. We can use exit here because it's in an if statement. As long as that exit is not inside of a while loop, we are allowed to use our exit. So there I initialize my days. The inside of my repeat and my while really looks the same. I'm making a change there to my weight and I'm deducting the 375 and I'm displaying the days and the weight. And I will repeat until my goal is either greater or equal to that weight. Then I know I have reached my goal. In question 1.3, you are supposed to create a membership code for a person, and it's divided up in the questions with a part 1, 2, and 3. So the first part is asking you to convert to all capital letters and remove all the vowels and spaces. Then you have to add whether they are male or female to the membership code. This here is the third part of the membership code. You have to generate a random number. Then you have to add a value of 10 to the random number. You also then need to determine the number of letters that the full name consists of without the vowels. That means I need the length, and that you need to keep in mind, is I need the length of this part 1 now without part 2 added to it. So after the first 2 parts of my code, so after the male or female was added, I need to add my random number. But then I need to do a calculation where I add that random number to 10 as well as to the length here that I just explained. And that answer that you would get would then be the last 2 digits. So you have 3 numbers added to the end of this membership code. And then finally, if the person has an allergy, you need to add a star to this membership code. Here is an example of input and output. The front part here would look the same, and it should be female because they picked female there. But this here would be a random number, so it won't correspond exactly with yours. Press pause and I'll show you the memo soon. They asked us to create this code using the capital letters, so I've just used uppercase there for the input from the user. And to remove any characters from a string, you're always going to use this method. It's something you can study. So this is my username. I'm initializing it because I'm using it on both sides of the assignment statement. In my for loop, I now loop from 1 to the length of that name that was entered. And then I'm testing here. Note the blue brackets here. After a not comes brackets, and inside those brackets must be a condition. And my condition is the current character either a vowel or a space? So I'm using my in operator. Since this is a char data type, that would be possible. So if it's not one of these characters, I'm going to add it to this membership code, which I declared as user for. Now remember, part 3 needed the length of this username as it is now, and that's why I am storing length here, which is the length of the username without the vowels and spaces. Then we were asked to add to the username a dash with either F or M. I have just used the input from the user from my radio group using .items and then square bracket radio group .item index, copying out just the first character, and then there's a dash before and after either the F or the M, because if you have a look at the radio group, you will see that it says female or male, so that would work for me. There are other ways. You could have used an if or a case statement to do that as well. Then we had to pick a random number from 1 to 9. That means my random range must be 1, 10 because random range excludes that second number. That number now becomes the first digit of the 3 that I'm creating now. So here I'm busy with part 3. I am taking the current username and I'm adding to that the random number that I just picked. Then I need to take that random number plus 10 plus the length that I calculated here at the top. And this number now is added to the end after the random number. So now to my username, I have added the 3 digits or the 3 numbers to the end of this username. And then if this username or if this user had an allergy, they would have clicked on the checkbox called CHK allergy. And if the check property is true, I should be adding a star as well. But if they didn't click on it, I don't have to add anything. Remember your if statements. If this here is a Boolean property or variable, it will automatically test if it is true. You can, however, add equals to true there if you want to, but it's not needed. An if statement by default will check if Boolean values are true. And then all I had to do here at the end is this username that I've been creating. I have to display in the edit box EDT membership code. In this question 1, there was an array declared for you, and they had some memberships in there already. Now, what was important is that this array membership contained 20 memberships. So all 20 was completed, and we are going to pick from this array, we're going to pick a random male and a female. So you would have to pick a random number from 1 to 20 to pick one of them, ensuring that you are picking one male and one female. You can expect arrays in any one of your questions. I don't think we would find them in question 2, but that is also a possibility. Here is the rest of the question, and in order to pick a male and female, you will have to use a conditional loop. So either try a while or a repeat loop. Press pause and I'll show you the memo as soon as you have tried it. So we just have to make sure that we have the output as per the screenshot. There was a heading and an empty line after the heading. The first solution here is using a repeat loop, and I am using B male and B female as my condition here. So I'll continue to pick random values until B male is true and B female is true. I'm using iRandom to pick random males and iRandomF to pick random females. And I'm using random range 1,21 because remember, the second argument of random range is excluded from my random numbers that will be selected. So this will pick a random number from 1 to 20. So what I'm doing here is I am testing if B male is still false, and if the pos of -m in the membership code of the random index that I have selected is greater than 0. It was important to add that dash to the m, because if we have a look at a membership code like this, and I was just looking for an M, it would find this one here because there is a M in this membership code, but it's actually a female. So that's why it's important, especially the first dash, to add that in your pos if you're going to use pos. You can also add the dash after the M, but that one wasn't crucial. So if I find a -m in this membership code that I selected randomly, I will then display it and make my B male true. So maybe the first time this loop executes, it finds a male, but it doesn't find a female. So the next time I'm looping, it won't run this code again because it already has a male and it's already displayed the membership code for that male. My if statement here is really doing the same, but just for the females, where I use B female is equal to false, and where I'm searching for the pos of the F in the membership code of the random female index number that I selected. And if the F with the dashes are inside of this membership code, I will then display the membership code using that random index that I selected, and then I set B female to true. And that will continue to loop until I have found both a male as well as a female. Here is my solution using a while loop. Remember the variables that we are testing. We need to initialize above the while loop, test in the while condition. I have 2 of them this time, and make sure that they will change on the inside of your while loop or you will fall into an infinite loop. So what my while loop is saying here is, while I have not found a male or a female, continue to loop. The inside of this code really looks the same as with the repeat loop. It is just the heading here that is changing. If we compare the 2 conditions with each other, you'll see that a while and a repeat condition is usually the opposite of each other. So this says repeat until I find a male and a female, and this says while I have not found a male or a female, continue to loop. Question 1.5 now asks us to display all these membership codes, but we want to display them sorted in alphabetical order, but with the ones with a star indicating that they have an allergy at the top, followed then still in alphabetical order with the ones without membership codes. So what I've done is I sorted array member codes, and then after sorting, I looped through it twice. The first time displaying those with a star, and the next time displaying those without a star. I'm sure there are many other solutions that would be correct, but this one was really the simplest solution. Remember to go and study how to sort. We always start with the outer loop from 1 to, and if we were reading from a text file, it would be I count -1. In this case, we had 20 items in my array, so I'm only going up to 19. And then on my inner loop, I start with I out +1 and I go all the way to 20. My if statement here determines according to what I'm sorting and also in which order. So if you would run this code and you see you are displaying it from Z to A instead of from A to Z, just change this operator around for the other one. On the inside here, I am just swapping my variables. We start and end with our keeper. If you have I out on the right, in the next line I out will be on the left, followed then with the I in. And if I in is on the right, I need to put I in on the left of that assignment statement in the next line. Swapping values in variables or arrays is very similar to having two glasses of water. Let's say the one glass is red and the other one is blue. I can't pour the one glass content into the other one. I will need a third glass to first keep my, let's say the red glass. So I'll take my red water and pour it into the extra glass. That is my keeper. So that's S keep, my extra glass. Now my red glass is empty and I can pour the blue water into the red water's glass. Now I have space in my blue glass, and whatever was in that extra glass I can pour into the blue water's glass, and in that way I have swapped the content of the two glasses of colored water. Now the last part here is just looping from 1 to 20. I have 20 membership codes. And now it is sorted, but I want to display the ones with the allergies at the top. So here I'm just saying, if I find a star in this member code, then I will display that member code. Then I loop through that same array again, and I've just copied and pasted, and all I did was add a not here to say, if I don't find a star, then display them. So this part here will display all my allergy people in alphabetical order at the top, followed then by those without allergies still in alphabetical order below. And that was the end of that paper. Thank you very much for watching. If you are looking for more information about arrays and text files, that would be Dandelion Delphi Book 2. Hope to see you soon.